In this demonstration, I'm going to show you an iteration burn-up chart and a really cool feature in Mingle, Mingle's ability to forecast completion dates based off of the team's velocity. So here we see the iteration burn-up chart. The red line represents the scope. We have 3 stories in scope, and the green line represents the completed stories. We have 1 completed story. Let's start at the story wall. You can see here I've grouped the stories into columns that represent each status. There's 1 story in to do, another one in progress, and a 3rd story in done. Now it's time to create the iteration burn-up chart. Let's navigate to the Overview tab, and here we'll use the Chart Wizard. We'll select the burn-up chart icon, and we'll count up all the stories by status. So under the aggregate, I'll enter count. Next, I'll enter a start date. We'll select 1/22/2013 as the start date, and we'll give it an end date of 1/28/2013. And under the chart level conditions, let's go ahead and define this to use type is story, so it'll only evaluate story cards. And now we'll enter the options for the series level. We'll name this first one scope with 0 chart conditions. And the next one will be status equal to done, and this will reflect the completed stories for this chart level series. We'll also give this a different color. We'll go ahead and color this green, and we can type that into the color and save this. And next we'll preview this just to check for errors and see how the data is represented. Here we see that there's 3 in scope and 1 completed stories. Now let's go add some additional parameters. These will help with the forecasting ability. Click the plus sign here, enter in the scope series, the completion series, and the target release date. I'll select the scope series, and we'll define this as scope. That maps to this first series level. And for the second series, we'll go ahead and define this as completed stories. And this will map to the second series in the chart, which will be represented by the green line charted below. Now let's go ahead and enter a target release date that coincides with the iteration release date, and we'll enter 1/28/2013. We'll go ahead and preview this one last time just to check for errors, and insert this and save this to the wiki page. Now that I've set the chart parameters and we've checked for errors, let's take a look at the iteration burn-up chart. Let's take a look at this on the card wall. So here at the card wall, as a reminder, we have 3 stories in scope, 1 is completed. Let's go ahead and drag story 2 to done, and we'll move story 3 to in progress. And let's look at how this is reflected on the iteration burn-up chart. We see the latest changes from the card wall view reflected in this chart. Now the green line's at 2, and the outstanding stories is at 1. This is a great example of using an iteration burn-up chart with the forecasting capabilities in Mingle.